Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Guns and Yellow Ribbons Live. We are back again this week. This is the second time this week we're live. We did one on Monday for the Sheffield game, and we're doing one now because of the Chelsea game. I am joined by an away fan that was at the game, who is, I think, just about awake. Scunny, how are you, mate?
All right, guys. Sorry, I was on mute then as well. I'm not with it at all tonight. Didn't get back till 3 in the morning.
I was going to say, what time did you get home at?
It was about between 3:30 past. Is that one I sent to you? Mate, what a day. What an away game. I've never been to anything like it. The atmosphere there was unbelievable. It was amazing.
Fine. We will talk about it more. His last live podcast from Kos in Greece. Very old man Trev. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you, Fergus. Hello, boys. I'm not really old. Just old will do, Fergus. Absolutely buzzing, mate. Still hanging off the ceiling after last night. Oh, wow. Scunny, you were so lucky to be there, mate. I'm so jealous. But I'm back. I'm coming back to the UK. I'll get back this weekend, and I ain't missing no more games, mate. We've got our Arsenal back.
I'm going to say, mate, I owe your mate some proper beers after that night. I really do.
Yeah, it's good when you get nights like that. Listen, let's bring in Corey. Corey, what color we got? We got white. Oh, that's okay. We did have blue. We did have like a dodgy nightclub look for a second. Then we had a brothel look. He's got one of these fancy lights. Corey, how you doing?
I'm good. I will be changing the color of the lights throughout the show. So we'll start with white, and then we'll get more creative later.
Okay. I like that. That's something new. If people want to come in the comments and pick a color, maybe Corey can try and find it for you.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It's got to be a pretty crap podcast if the most exciting thing is the lights in Corey's room. Right. So, Mike, as we touched, you were on the game. You went down, and where did you go? Did you go to Earl's Court beforehand, met up with the lads and a few beers?
We first went to Fulham Broadway, and then we moved up towards Earl's Court because it was manic.
Yeah.
Oh.
And lineups. Looking at the lineups, in particular, we had Bellerin starting back again, and Saka. They were both our wing backs, our left and right full backs, sort of thing. What's your thoughts on those players? We touched on it a little bit last week. Corey, do you want to come in on? Let's talk about Saka first of all, Corey.
Saka, done really well. He's really grown on me as a player. It's games like this when you do go down to 10 men where you get to really show what you're made of. And what I liked about him is that his head never dropped. He never stopped. He never stopped running. He never stopped fighting. When he needed to be up in the final third, he was there. When he needed to be back, he was back. He had it was a tough game for him because we were pushing Chelsea out to the wide areas, basically. Like Chelsea didn't have any joy coming through the middle, but out wide with Hudson-Odoi and Willian, they were whipping in a lot of crosses. So Saka had a lot to deal with, but he handled it really well. Could have probably had a bit more support, but him as an individual, he performed marvelously, and you've got to keep reminding yourself that he's only 18 years old.
He's only 18. He did. Expose is not the right word I use, but he did come under an awful lot of pressure, and a lot of Chelsea seemed to concentrate on that side with Saka and Martinelli on it. And in the first half, I think we did struggle at first to deal with it. Trev, what did you make of Bellerin and his performance? And were you pleased to see him back? We've got some people in here in the chat. Mike is saying that Bellerin should be made the full-time captain. Thoughts on Bellerin?
Yeah, I mean, people forget, Fergus, that Bellerin was a very, very good player as a few years ago. And then he dropped off a little bit. He had some injuries and he dropped off a little bit. Maybe this is just the start of him getting back now to where he was a few years ago. He's a class act, he's Bellerin, you know. I don't think he helps himself with all this girly haircuts and all this strange clothes he wears. But
This coming from the guy who can't grow hair.
Listen, mate, I've cut my hair especially for tonight. And at least I show mine and don't cover it up with a hat most of the time.
Hey.
Anyway, listen.
No hat. Hat.
Listen, shut up a minute. I'm trying to talk. Listen. He's a class player, Bellerin. He's just come back. All talk of permanent captain, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, blah. Too soon. Just let the boy get back in the fold. He was captain last night. He's took it well and he's played well. And he scored a goal, and everyone loves him, don't they? But let's see how it goes over the next 2 or 3 weeks. But yeah, Bellerin's good. Bellerin's a class act.
And Mike, on Bellerin, I have had my reservations. I love him as an Arsenal player, but I do find that defensively, he sometimes is too far up the pitch and he leaves us exposed. Did you see any of that yesterday?
Not all. Barring Martinelli would have been my man of the match. If Martinelli didn't play so well, Bellerin was up there. It was just by that minute little thing. I think, to be fair, Bellerin was absolutely outstanding yesterday, and I cannot fault him at all. And you know, to come back from injury and with Maitland-Niles doing so well in that right back position, I think he's come in there and he's saying, right, no, this is my spot, and I think he did that well last night. And he took it. He really took it. And, you know, and like Trev said, he has been getting some criticism, you know, rightfully so. He does get a bit of criticism sometimes, but his attitude towards that game, and like I say, to do that by coming back from injury against a team like Chelsea, who are hit and miss at times, I just feel like he took that and he's basically saying to the manager, no, you can't give this spot to anyone else but me. This is my spot, and that's what I like about it. He showed his fight, he showed his worth.
And did he show any sign of injury? Because he came back earlier in the season and went off more or less. I think it was within a game or so. He's back injured again. So you know, like Ben Bennett says, let's hope he stays injury free now. He's a very important player.
I personally think, what you were saying, I think he probably come back a bit too soon from his injury. I think he was he's probably forced back in by the fact that we haven't really got another right back. There's only really Maitland-Niles and Mustafi who can play in that position at the moment, and obviously Maitland-Niles has done really well there of these last few games that he's had. So you know, you can't fault him at the minute, and I wouldn't like to fault him. I think, to be honest, I think he's done really well, but it's. You know, I mean, to come back from injury too soon, sometimes it plays on a player's mind. I think he's lost a bit of his pace, Bellerin, at the minute, but that could just be down to the fact that he's had so much time off. And I think that's the only thing that's really got him at this moment in time is his pace.
Yeah. Listen, you're exactly right, Mike. You're exactly right, son. You've hit the nail on the head. But just one point about him getting stuck too far forward sometimes. That won't happen now, because I don't think Arteta lets that happen, does he? Arteta's a pressure man, and he's a cover ground man, and he's a super fit man. He wants all these players covering ground and being super fit and getting back. So I don't think we'll see any of them get stuck forward anymore, because they daren't, because Arteta won't stand for it. Well, that's how I see it anyway, mate.
Well, the thing is as well with the style of play that Arteta's gotten into, that double pivot that we've got at the minute with Xhaka and Torreira, you notice them, they sort of push wide. When the fullbacks pull forward, them two push wide out, so they're covering that ground. So what Arteta's doing at the moment is absolutely brilliant with the way he's working it, and the way the formation works at the minute is brilliant. It just needs a few more tweaks, I think, with a few more players coming in, but that's gonna take time. So when we start getting to that point, I think we're going to see a massive difference.
And Corey, Mustafi. Now, let's look at the Mustafi up until the red card, and then we look at the Mustafi afterwards, because I know there's varying opinions about Mustafi right across the Arsenal fan base. Mustafi, he cocked up, again.
Yeah.
Go on, I'll let you take it.
Mustafi did a Mustafi. Mustafi was being Mustafi. we've come to expect it. Nobody was surprised. It was just like, for goodness sake, again, you know. I think he was in our good books after the Sheffield United game. He had a good game. He was pretty solid in that match. So I know some people were complaining, saying, why did we play him in this match? You know, especially if Holding's fit. But to be fair, like I said, in the last game, he did all right. But this time around, yeah, he cocked up, woeful back pass. Everyone saw what happened, put us in trouble. David Luiz got sent off
on the red card in a second.
Conceded a penalty. You know, after the red card, he was really good, to be fair. If you look at his stats in terms of clearances, interceptions, they were up there, you know. So he actually didn't have a bad game overall, but obviously that mistake was a huge mistake, and it influenced the game.
The mistake, Trev, you watched it on TV, and then I'll come to Mike and get his view from inside the ground. Trev, you watched on TV the mistake. Mustafi left Leno high and dry. Leno couldn't do an air shot to try and clear it. And Luiz went in on Tammy Abrahams, I think. Took him out, in my view, and I know Richard Butler in the chat and on some of the Facebook groups disagrees. But in my view, it was a red card. He's last man. People are talking about different angles about Abraham's kicking the earth and making himself fall. Well, that's professionalism, I suppose. And other people are saying that Mustafi had got back in time to get on the line. What did you make of it, Trev?
Well, firstly, Mustafi made his mistake. He makes them too often, and it annoys me. But he didn't go into hiding after the mistake this time, did he? His head didn't stay down for many minutes. He was back up, and after the mistake, he had a thoroughly decent game, and I was very pleased with him, the way he played. Maybe that's the Arteta effect again, you know. Don't let me head drop for too long. I've made the mistake. Let's get on with it. As for I thought it was a sending off at the time. I think the thing that Richard might be touching on is this double jeopardy thing, isn't it? Whereas you can't be punished twice for the same offence. But what it's saying is the tackle has got to be making a valid attempt to get the ball, and they judged that he wasn't, and Luiz got sent off, and I can see why he got sent off. I don't think it was harsh. I don't think I'd have moaned if he'd have stayed on, actually, either. I'm sort of down the middle of it, but no, I'm not moaning about it. It looked like he bundled him over, and he got the sending off. That's it, done. So there you go.
And like Terry Greenwood said, like, it was probably a little bit foolish. He pushed Abraham wide. If you score, so what? You still got 11v11. I don't know. What did you make, Mike?
Well, at the ground when we first saw it, there was, I don't know if you heard it on the TV, there was a lot of boos going around for Mustafi after that happened, which is, I think it is right. He made a massive, massive mistake there. I sort of tend to agree with what Terry put there. You know, I don't think it was right that Luiz went down, you know, he went for the ball like he did. It was a red card in my eyes, but I don't, you know, I mean, because of the rules have changed, I've seen a few other people putting up the, you know, I mean, the rules changed, but I thought with it being the last man, he's on target, you know, with a chance on goal, it's, to me, if you pull the guy down, it's a red card. It always has been, but I don't, like I say, I think there's a few people in the chat saying that it's that rule's not there anymore, but as far as I was aware, it is. So it was definitely a red card, because it was a genuine attempt to go for the ball, but he missed the ball. But I hadn't really seen much on the highlights, and I hadn't really seen the telly, you know, the stats on the TV yet, so I only remember it from the ground. But, you know, that mistake that Mustafi made, you know, it is a bit of a stupid mistake. Luiz, yeah, he made a stupid mistake as well, but you can sort of forgive him for that. You know, he's trying to get, you know, he's genuinely trying to get the ball. You know, he's trying to make amends for the mistake. But I do, you know, I tend to agree with Corey as well. And nice to meet you, mate. It's the first time I spoke to you. So, and it's a really tough one for me, because I saw Mustafi, he didn't just make that mistake. He was making other mistakes as well. I think there's a few times he did the same. You know, he left people a bit short with passes and stuff like that. So, but I can only say what I saw in the ground and what other people were seeing as well, who was around me.
When you're talking about Mustafi, there, was that prior to the cock up, or is that...
It was after? Yeah, it was after the cock up. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
I think in fairness, he did once or twice leave somebody short on a pass or made a slightly wayward pass. I said, but when we were pushing forward. The first half, we weren't fantastic in the first half of Monaco. The question I would say before we finish up on the penalty and the red card and so on, why wasn't VAR called in? I didn't see any call for VAR. And if people are questioning this double jeopardy rule and saying there's a change in rules and saying he was pushed out wide, that he'd made a genuine attempt for the ball and everything else, where was VAR?
I don't know. As far as sorry, Corey, go on.
So there was a check on VAR. It was a very quick one. But if you watch it back, you'll see Luis standing next to the ref, and the ref is sort of listening in his earpiece. There was a quick check, but I don't think it was on the board, like big announcement. It was just I'm going to quick check it quickly. They said it was still a red, and so he asked Luis to leave the pitch.
Do you think that's probably just trying to get a bit slicker and not spend 5-10 minutes like checking VAR and stuff?
Yeah, and I think what Mike was talking about in terms of the rule, if it still exists, if it's the last man, he's got a clear chance on goal and he gets taken out, then before it was a red. If that's still the case, then it's a straightforward decision. So I don't think they needed to spend too much time on it.
But with it being no malice as well, he only misses the one game, not the three.
That was my next question as well. Does he get a 3-game ban, or does he just get a 1 game?
It's just the one. It's just the one because it's not. It was no malice involved. It wasn't like Aubameyang's challenge, for instance.
Which there was no malice intended on that either.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Leno. I thought Mustafi did all right last night after the mistake, and I like him today. I like Mustafi. There, he's a good lad. Today, maybe tomorrow.
Can I just make a point as well? I know you were saying about Mustafi and everything like that, but I thought Xhaka did an amazing job.
Yes, I've got Xhaka down here as playing as a central defender, an excellent performance. But that throughout the game when he was asked to drop back, just finishing up on the penalty, Leno, he came close. He nearly saved that. But like Johnny from the North Bank comes along and says on the YouTube chat, he's coming along and saying the sending off prompted the Lions' performance. And it'll set them up mentally for better going forward. So it's like a siege mentality. And I honestly do think that's probably what we got out of the game. Yes, a point is great, but I think it was just the whole mentality. We went in 1-0 down at half time. With no shots on goal at all in the first half. Also, just on that red card, Arsenal have had the most red cards against Chelsea than any other Premier League side. We've had 8 red cards against Chelsea, but no shots on goal at half time. We did see that once Luis was taken off, Arteta looked like he was going to make a substitution, and it looked like he could have been taken off our boy Martinelli. Which would have been a bloody disaster, the way we look at it now.
Well, when we were at the ground and stuff, obviously you see the players warming up. Holding was only in his jacket, so he was ready. He looked like he was primed, ready to come on. Rob Holding, so he only had his jacket on, warming up. So he had his, he was in shorts, no tracky bottoms when you see him and stuff like that. So he looked like he was coming on, but no one in the ground knew who it would have been for. But I don't think anyone in the ground would have suspected Martinelli would have been coming off.
What I liked about that, and subsequently you could see various subs almost coming on and various players almost coming off, and Arteta kept on changing it. He was looking at the game and he was going, right, you're coming in, you're going to go on Holding, for example, and Martinelli's going to come off, and he goes, oh, hang on a second. And I think Bellerin, we'll again get to Bellerin in a minute, but Bellerin at 75 minutes looked like he was flagging and out of breath, and he stays on for the full 90 minutes. So yeah, Ozil did come off for Guendouzi. What sort of game do you think he had, Mike? I'll let you, since you piped up first, I'll let you say about.
Do you know what? I know I didn't realise this, but apparently he had quite a high percentage passing accuracy. But the passing that we saw at the ground, and I'd probably go for many, many other people there, he didn't have a bad game, but his passing was either sideways or backwards. He wasn't really doing anything of substance to push the ball forward. The thing for me is when he came off, and Guendouzi came on, the whole game completely changed for us. And that's the thing. That's what difference it made for me, and especially at the ground as well. It was, you know, I think there was a lot of other people there at the ground, and the people who were stood next to me as well were actually thinking, "Thank God he's come off because he's offering nothing." As well as not playing badly, he wasn't offering anything. He didn't look like he was trying to create something. He wasn't trying to push forward. He was asking for the ball, but he was giving it back, or it was going backwards and sideways. He just wasn't really doing anything with it. And I think that was the issue that I think myself especially had, because I made a point of watching Ozil throughout that game. I thought, right, well, this is a game now. Is after what happened last time with Chelsea, when Jorginho come on the 35th minute at home, it was like, right, we've got to make a point of Ozil. He's got to show something, and I just don't feel he showed anything. But it's like Dave said there, 100% pass completion rate. It's all right doing that, but when it's sideways and backwards to the person who's near you, it's always going to be that. We've mentioned it before, Fergus, on this podcast itself. Mertesacker had a high pass rating, you know, so anyone can get that high pass rating. But if you're not creating something, and if it's just safe passing, what's the point? And this guy is meant to be our creative midfielder. He's meant to be pushing this team forward, and he just wasn't offering that last night.
No, I agree. I agree. And some of his stats since signing his new contract in January 2018,
disgraceful, mate. That
disgraceful. 43 appearances, 5 goals and 4 assists. So 5 9 goals and assists all in all, which is just behind Virgil van Dijk, and he's not a striker or a creative midfielder. Corey, what did you make of Ozil's performance overall?
Yeah, just ineffective. Yeah, if someone has 100% pass completion, then it's most likely they're just passing it sideways or backwards. Mm-hmm. That's not what he's there for. I'm done with Ozil now. I think he's done at the top level. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's his legs or his heart that he doesn't have anymore. But you know, he's on a huge contract. He's on probably more money than Kevin De Bruyne, and look at the difference between the two of them. Yeah, he's just, you know, at this point, it's just like, let's get him gone so we can get somebody else in that can actually do what we need him to do. It's only recently where I've given up hope on him, where, you know, at some point I thought we would see the old Ozil again, but I think that's it now.
We did for a couple of games, you know, for a couple of games like against Man United, he was amazing. He was a really good player. When we beat Man United 2-0. But it's like he has this tendency where he can play 1 or 2 games and then he just drops off for the rest of it. He just becomes the missing man. And I think it was Lee Judges who mentioned he's the wanderer, because he just doesn't do anything. He just wanders about. So it is that case. And that's the problem I have. And I agree with you, Corey. He has to go. And there's nothing. The really thing that really guts me is like you got Ceballos on the bench. What does he have to do to get in front of this guy?
That's an interesting question, because I'm like, how fit is Ceballos? I don't know if it's a fitness thing or if Arteta just doesn't fancy him. But he's been on the bench a few times now, and he's not got a minute of football. So I'm not sure what's happening there. And then actually, I did see something today where he replied to Bellerin's tweet. And he said he's going to miss Bellerin's shooting on his left foot. But the key part of that was the "I'm going to miss." So there's talk of him, maybe his loan spell being cut short, or, you know, I don't know. But him talking like that.
I've heard some other stuff which I can't really go into. But I don't think Arteta is overly keen. There's a lot of other stuff, Spanish politics and stuff involved in it, but I don't think he's overly keen. Trev, Guendouzi came on. You know me, I always type down the word Guendouzi, but as Mike alluded to, he changed the game when he came on. Just he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything miraculously fantastic. He just added some of some dynamism to the game and some urgency to trying to get the ball forward. What did you make of Guendouzi coming on and his performance then, Trev?
Yeah, Fergus, I've just been sitting here listening to these lads. I'm going to take 30 seconds of your time on Ozil here because I'll talk about Ozil now with these boys because they've not been derogatory and they've not. I've got rid of a few people off social media this week who weren't just saying Arsenal players were bad. They were really, really abusing them, and I mean nasty words. And you don't do that to players of your own team. You talk like Corey and Scully just have and say, yeah, he's not playing very well and I don't think he's good enough. That's fine. But don't go over that line and start really, really abusing them. I mean, nasty abuse. Don't do that. You're an Arsenal fan. Don't do that to our own players. I thought Ozil has been past it for the last 2 or 3 seasons. You know that I had a lot to say about his performance in the Europa League final last year when I was lucky enough to be in Baku and I saw it. And so, yeah, I think Ozil would be better off moving on, 100%. Guendouzi, you've all moved around. What's happened here? Guendouzi reminds me a lot, right, of a young Kolo Touré when Kolo Touré first came to Arsenal, right? Not from a positional point of view, but Kolo Touré used to come on full of energy, right? It didn't matter where Wenger played him. He'd just run all over the pitch anyway, like an headless chicken. But he'd lift the side with his energy and his passion and he'd find a pass. And that's what Guendouzi's reminding me of at the moment. He's a young lad, full of enthusiasm, gets around the park really well, and hopefully he'll develop over the next 2 or 3 years into half the player Kolo Touré was, and then we'll have a blinding good player on our hands, let me tell you. Yeah, so I'm all right with Guendouzi. I think he goes down a bit easy, and I think he whinges a bit much, but what footballer don't these days? So, yeah, he's all right by me, Guendouzi. He'll develop, hopefully. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just make a quick point on that? Because I've noticed over the last couple of games and stuff like that, we've been in a bit of a scrap, with games. They get a bit scrappy in games, and when you go down to 10 men, you need someone who's going to be up for the scrap, who's going to be a bit more involved, a bit like for Trevor was saying, a bit more energetic. And I've noticed when we need these players the most, and the players I've noticed more than anyone that we need in a scrappy fight, is Guendouzi and Martinelli, and even Saka as well at some points, because they are always up for it. They're constantly moving. They're constantly going for the ball. They're trying their hardest. They're pushing forward. And these are the things you want when you get into that scrappy battle in football. And when we were down to 10 men, it showed. When Doozy came on, it completely changed it. And that's what we need. We need to be up for these. We need to be up for the fight. And obviously, look how it turned out.
Yeah, don't forget, you've not mentioned Martinelli there either.
Martinelli as well.
Sorry, Fergus.
We're getting to Martinelli.
Right, well, hurry up then. I want to talk about Martinelli. Come on, move on.
Martinelli's counter-attack was reminiscent of Henry, Anelka, Pepe in support, I thought was fantastic. I noticed that Lacazette was blowing out of his ass to try and keep up with him, but at least he was going in the right direction. But go on, Trev. The floor is yours.
Yeah, and it's great to see the young lad and it playing. The point I was going to make was put yourself in Lacazette and Aubameyang's shoes this morning. They must be thinking to themselves, well, which one of us two is he going to drop? Because he can't drop Martinelli on his recent performances, can he? So it's going to get really interesting. And what happens is, if this is the case, then we might see all the players in the team raising their games, because as all these youngsters start playing really well, the players that have been easing off a little bit start thinking, hang on a minute, I can't be easy anymore. These other lads are doing really well. I've got to pull my socks up here. So I wonder what Lacazette and Aubameyang were thinking this morning.
Maitland-Niles and Bellerin, that's what we touched on earlier, like the competition among them. Is going to increase. He could have been taken off after Louise's red card. Well done to Arteta for that, but it's a 67-yard run, and it was 13 seconds after a corner. Do you remember when Arsenal used to do that all the time? I got my head. Henri Perez, the red currant shirt, the one that you like, Mike, and I remember them doing that. And it's just that's the same.
Who got the assist for the goal for Martinelli's goal? Mustafi. Well done, Corey. Mustafi got the assist.
It doesn't even class as assist when he runs that far.
Yeah.
Of course, it classes as an assist.
Get out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say something now. I've forgotten now.
Next thing, you're going to come along to me next and saying Ozil gets pre-assists. Don't even start with that.
You was the person that started that pre-assist rubbish, weren't you?
No, not all. Not at all. I hate that bloody stat.
Yeah, me too. Pre-assist. What a load of rubbish.
Corey,
exactly.
Corey, thoughts on Pepe's performance?
Wait, can I talk about Martinelli quickly?
Nah. Yeah, go on.
He does that, mate. He does that. He always wants to get rid of the good stuff first.
We talk about this kid like we have got a special player on our books.
Yeah.
We do. When we bought him, there was chat about this kid before we even got him, and he was on a lot of people's lists of like top 10 young players that could possibly, become world class in the next couple of years.
Chelsea and Man United turned him down.
Yeah, but his reputation was there before he got to us, but obviously not. It wasn't worldwide. We got him for cheap, and he started the season exactly how I expected him to. He's double figures now, 10 goals. He's got everything you want, for a forward player. He's got that pace, he's got the technique, he's got the skill, he's got the heart, he's got the fight. I love Martinelli. I'm very excited. And just like Trev said, you can't drop him. I think Lacazette is the one that's going to have to make way when Aubameyang's fit, but can't drop him. You need to give this boy some playing time. He will become world class in the next couple of seasons. Mark my word.
Those hangers-oners, right? Those that Rail and that Vicky Sharon and all that they need to do their job tomorrow. Get him in their office and tie him down to a 6-year contract. That's what they need to do. Not messing around.
With Pepe, I think he done all right. I think the problem that Pepe's having is that with Arteta's tactics, we're a lot more compact these days. So we move backwards and we move forwards as a team. But when we are on the back foot and we're defending a lot, he has to come a lot deeper. And so, when he actually gets the ball, he's nowhere near the opposition's goal. So you see him trying to work his way out of our half, running with it, gets fouled a lot. But he's not going to do any damage, because he's too far from goal. That doesn't stop him from trying to take players on and whatnot. And a lot of the time, it doesn't come off.
He done it yesterday, and didn't he get chopped at? I can't remember what player. He got a yellow card anyway. He got chopped at 4 times.
Yeah, he's good at that. Because yesterday our passing was atrocious at times. It was really bad. Couldn't string 2 passes together. But when you've got a player like that who's got dribbling ability, and we just need to get the ball away from our goal, he's good at that. He can sort of get away from a couple of players and run with it. But it's not going to look great on his scoring and assist stats. But when he did actually get near their goal, he was crossing it with his right foot. Some people say that he's really left-footed, but we saw him cross with his right foot quite a bit yesterday. I just think that he needs to be in a front three that is like confident, passing the ball around amongst himself, being able to switch wings, all of that stuff, but we're not there yet. So we're still not going to get the best out of him just yet. But
I think
I've got faith.
I think Ben is right. He's in the chat. He's come along and said people need to be patient. He'll come good. I do think so. He's only been in the Premier League for just over 6 months. It's a tough league, and it's a huge step up from the French league. Looking at Chelsea for a minute.
I'll come to me on all this, will you?
What's that?
Don't miss me out on this one, mate. Kante's still lying on the floor now from Martinelli. They haven't even picked him up yet. You know what I mean? They had a stretcher out for him at one point. Look, at the end of the day, Martinelli was unbelievable. And just before that, he was running to the line at some point before that. He was complaining of cramp and he was blowing just before he ran that 67 yards. So that just shows you how professional and how much he wants to do this job and how much he wants to go for it. And that just amazes everyone, that. And it was unbelievable. And after that goal, there was non-stop singing of Martinelli's song that he's got now at the ground. It was just non-stop up until there was a corner, and I think that was like 5 minutes after. So the whole away ground, all the way fans were just singing his name constantly for about 5 minutes. It was just on and on and on, and it's that is just for me that the atmosphere at the ground was unbelievable, and it was just non-stop the whole game. It was brilliant. It was such great. And when that first goal went in, I on the lower tier there was a mosh pit at the lower tier. Everyone were just piling on top of everyone. It was amazing to see. And obviously, I had a few friends down there who was getting involved in the mosh pit. And on the top tier where I was, at the I don't know if any of you lot have been to the Chelsea ground, but where the top tier is, where the barrier is, people were literally on top of this barrier, jumping up and down, everything. It just went absolutely mental for this kid.
Sadly, my last trip to Stamford Bridge was on my birthday. I was with Robbie from Arsenal Fans TV. He was beside me, not doing Fans TV thing, but he was just watching the game. Really interesting guy, really knows his football. But it was Arsenal got beaten 3-1 and the Wenger out banners came out. So I'm glad you had a much better experience than me.
I've been to a fair few away games now, and that is the best experience I've ever been to. It was unbelievable. I just cannot describe it so much.
I had it at Wigan with Van Persie when he scored a hat-trick and we beat Wigan 4-0. I travelled all the way up on my own, gone to the game, didn't know anybody around me, and it was just like nuts. And it's when away games are like that, it's brilliant. On Chelsea, okay.
Can I just make a quick point about Pepe as well? Sorry. I know we're talking about Pepe, and I agree with what Corey was saying as well. But I don't know if you saw it on the TV or not as much, but Pepe was asking for the ball a lot to try and get down that right-hand side. He was trying his hardest to try and get that ball past, because Emerson was on a yellow card. He only had to make one more mistake and he would have been on a red. And I reckon Pepe would have absolutely eaten him up for that, because he just wasn't receiving it. He was trying his hardest and he was trying his best. And I didn't think Pepe had a bad game yesterday, as much as other people would say it, maybe disagree with me. But I don't know if you saw it on the TV as much, but he was absolutely running ragged down that right-hand side. He was up and down. He was cutting in. He was doing everything he could to try and get that ball, but he just was not coming to him. So I don't think it was more his fault why people assume that he had a bad game. I don't think that was down to him. I think it was more down to the fact that he just wasn't receiving the ball where he wanted it or how he needed it.
Isn't it amazing how different a game looks on TV than at the ground? Okay, depends how much beer you've had as well, and so on. But if you're actually there and trying to watch the game, and you can see so much more done off the ball, that's on the ball, and I said it. I went to Palace away recently, and I said about Ozil had a reasonably good game. Yeah, I put that up earlier. Dave Harold.
Yeah, I've just seen it, mate. I love that. I know. I didn't know he was in that, Dave. To be honest.
but yeah, I said about Lacazette's coming under criticism recently, and I think he puts an awful lot of work in, an awful lot of hard work in. On Chelsea,
wait, you can't move on yet, Fergus. You can't move on.
He's trying to, but it's not happening.
We're here to talk about the bloody Arsenal, Fergus. Let me tell you, right? Listen. That atmosphere last night, right? I'm so jealous of you, Mike. I'm so jealous because you know me. I love it away.
Honestly, Trev, I've never experienced anything like that ever.
Let me put this out there, right? Why was the atmosphere so good, right? Now I'll tell you why I think it was, because I'm an old man, right? And yeah, the scoreline helped last night. It would have been nicer to win, but getting a draw at Chelsea helped. But I tell you, all I ask of Arsenal, right? Of the Arsenal. All I ask is for 100% commitment from every player on the field for 90 plus minutes every game, right? And that's all I ask for. And if we lose 2 or 3-0, but I should stand there and I think, Jesus, they've tried their hardest, them boys. I'm not going to knock them. And that's what raised our crowd last night, right? That's what raised them Arsenal fans, because we never gave up. Down to 10 men, a goal down, 2-1 down, and we. In years gone by and recently, we would have dropped right off. We'd have gone. We'd have been out of that game. We'd lost 3 or 4, 5-1 maybe. But they didn't, did they? They just kept giving everything. Even Ozil and Pepe, right? They gave what they could. And the fans showed their appreciation. And the fans always will show their appreciation when the players are giving that. I can't wait till Bournemouth on Monday, let me tell you. We've got a whole end at Bournemouth. Let's hope we get an atmosphere like that there. This old man's going to be giving it some. Let me tell you that.
I hope it's the same at Burnley, because I'm going there. I'm going there as well. I hope it's the same there.
Yeah, I'll see you there, mate.
Yeah. Oh, are you both going? Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. So that's going to be amazing. I hope it's the same there. But no, as you were saying, Trev, sorry to interrupt again, Fergus, but as you were saying, honestly, the singing started before the start whistle. The singing started, it was just non-stop all the way through. It was amazing. Fergus, you can ram it. We're not here to talk about Chelsea, like Trev said.
I've got other stuff to talk about as well.
We don't need to talk anything about anything else.
Can I ask you one question before you move on? Can I ask you one question, Fergus? Who are Chelsea? Hey? Who are Chelsea?
Shit club, no history.
They've bought everything they've ever owned. Why do we want to talk about them? Let's talk about something else.
Right, okay. The one question, I was going to say on Chelsea.
As I was saying, Trev, you know the other day.
Yes, Smudge, I am going to Burnley, by the way. I'll see you there.
Brilliant, mate. Yeah, I can't wait to see you there, mate.
In the cricket club, yeah.
So I've muted all the others. On Chelsea, the question I have, and I know Mike has got rights on it, he can actually unmute you, but the question
you can't mute me.
Did Fat Frank cock up in the sense that they looked that they were happy at staying at 1-0 and that they just didn't come at us until obviously Azpilicueta, I've done that one, got the equaliser, or the 2-1 on the 84th minute. So, what did you make? Just on that, that's the only thing I would say. Did the superstar, the press lovey that everyone loves, Fat Frank, did he cock up? Corey, go on, since you've been polite.
I don't think. I mean, I remember them actually being in our half quite a lot after we went down to 10 men. But Xhaka and our boys were just like really good at keeping them out. Like I said, they had to go to the wide areas a lot, and so there's a lot of crosses that we were just clearing. So it probably didn't look like they were too much of a threat. They did try. They just weren't that good. So I don't think it's through lack of ambition or wanting to get a second goal. I just don't think they were actually capable at this time.
Were they being arrogant?
Huh?
Were they being arrogant?
Maybe. I mean, look, we've gone down to 10 men. Everyone knows that we've not been the best team of late. I wouldn't blame them for thinking that 1-0 was enough. And obviously that the chance that we got, that Martinelli took, it was amazing. Like obviously we needed Kante to slip, but for you're not thinking that one of our players are going to run the whole length of the pitch and then slot it away so cool and calmly. You're not thinking that's going to happen. So we caught them by surprise. After that, yeah, they tried. I think they tried a bit harder to get the second. They got it. And we didn't think we were going to come back and get the equalizer. So,
that was his fourth goal in 29 games in all competitions this season for the Chelsea player. I said it once, I got away with it. Yeah, that's it. But he's only scored 4 goals in all 109 games over the last 2 campaigns. So, for him to get a goal. But 3 minutes later, Bellerin, who I said was flagging at the 75th minute, scores a goal on his left foot, was it? Yeah, on his left foot. When I saw the goal live, I thought, that didn't look great. But then they actually showed an angle from behind the goal. It was a peach.
Yeah, he whipped that curled in nicely.
We've only scored 4 goals from outside the box for against Chelsea. Bellerin being 1, Savinho in 2000, and Nigel Winterburn in 97. He scored at Chelsea. One of his that was his one and only goal for Arsenal, I think. Nigel Winterburn, am I right? He only got 1 goal, Trev?
I wouldn't have a clue. I'd have thought he'd got a few more than that, but no, I wouldn't know.
I was on the Legends tour with him, and I think he said he only got one goal ever. Mentioning, we did touch on it earlier, Xhaka as a central defender, he was fantastic, didn't you think?
Absolutely.
He played up, mate. He slotted into that role, and he knew he had a job to do, and he did it. He was amazing. He did really well. He made a couple of mistakes, but you can forgive him for that because it's not his natural position. But what he did do on the day, he played amazing. He stepped up to it massively.
The question is, then, you say it's not his natural role. It's not David Luiz's natural role either. Should they swap roles? Because David Luiz...
Well, David Luiz is more of a centre-back than Xhaka, mate, all day long.
No, because David Luiz played as a central midfielder, a defensive midfielder. It was his natural role.
Well, he's played more times at centre-back than he has defensive
midfielder. I wouldn't say he's naturally a defensive midfielder.
Okay. Wait a minute. Let's get something straight as well, boys. We still need to sign a centre-half. We still need to sign a centre-half at the club. And Mike Harniman's made a great comment there. I was just thinking about it, actually. When you mention Arsenal goals against Chelsea, Fergus, you got to mention it's only Ray Parlour. You can't not mention Ray Parlour.
But was that at the bridge? Was that at the bridge?
No, in the cup final. Ray Parlour in the cup final.
Okay,
I think one in.
The stats I had were league related, so rather than other competitions. So yeah, no, Ray Parlour. Yeah, Mike Harniman mentions Ray Parlour's one as well. David Luiz. There was a clip on TV. You wouldn't have seen this, Mike, but David Luiz was sitting watching like the last minutes of the game, sitting enthralled in the game and kicking every ball with his teammates from the dressing room. And he realised the cameraman was looking at him. He's like, "Get away," sort of thing. Which I liked. It shows that he's actually committed. And I think he
should have come joined us in the away end. That's what he should have done.
He's not allowed into the stadium once he's been ejected after a red card.
Mike, on the telly. Sorry, Fergus, I'm being naughty tonight. I know. Mike, on the telly, it sounded like the Chelsea fans were really getting into Luiz, giving him a bit of an hard time.
They give him the old way when he got red carded. But honestly, I never really heard him.
No, well, it sounded like it. And strangely enough, my lad, texted me about 10 minutes before and said, "Luiz is getting wound up. He was going to get sent off tonight, Dad." And I don't think he thought it would be in that context, but he actually did get sent off. So it was interesting. But no, Xhaka's not a centre half. I'm still not sure about Xhaka. But Xhaka's been playing well.
I'm going to give him some credit. He's been playing well under Arteta so far, but I am with Trev. I'm with Trev on that. It is a case of when's it going to happen? When's that next mistake going to happen? That's going to send him down.
It's more of his attitude for me, Xhaka's attitude. The jury's still out. I'm not going to knock him because he has done all right, but his attitude just worries me still. And don't forget what I just said. Don't get a false sense of security. We do need to buy a centre half, like we have done for about the last. 10 years.
I agree with that 100%, Trev.
Keep this moving. So the next bit is the Gooner debate. Is Leno? He's come into people are criticising, saying, he's not great. He's not a great keeper, and this, that, and the other. I actually think he's great. One of probably the top 5 keepers in the league. 4 or 5 keepers in the league. Some stats that Melina came in for, and her stats last week were really good. On Monday were really good. Last night was the 7th time this season that Leno has made 6 or more saves in the Premier League. It's crazy. We've got a bad defense, but he's making these stops. I think he's made more saves than any other keeper in the league. Okay, we're mid-table at the minute, but technically speaking, we're a team that should be up there and competing at least for the top 4. How can anybody come and criticize him? Trev, come on, you're being naughty. You can answer the question.
I don't know how people can criticise Leno, to be honest with you, mate. I think he's had a cracking season, and I think he's turning into a fine young goalkeeper. I know Molina started doing a lot of the stats, so I'd be really interested to know. It wouldn't surprise me if the likes of Pickford and De Gea haven't made a lot more mistakes than Leno has this season, and no one's getting on their backs, are they? England's number 1 and the best goalie in the world at times has been called De Gea. I don't think he is now, but yeah, you can't fault Leno. It shocks me a little bit, but I see these little negative comments about him because I can't pick fault in him. I think he's been a breath of fresh air after Czech, because I think Czech was past his sell-by date, and I'm very happy with him. And I'm also happy with the backup as well with Martinez, because he's not a bad lad either. So yeah, I don't get it. He's all right. He's doing well. Good lad.
And Corey, when's the last centre-back, good centre-back, of any use that we signed?
Koscielny. I think we have to go back to Koscielny when we first got him. Don't think
When we
about
first got him.
huh?
Do you not remember the Birmingham final?
Not
Wembley final.
but listen, Koscielny's few seasons.
He was shocking to start off with.
Cut him off.
Look, Koscielny was the last good centre back that we signed was Koscielny. Yeah, French international. He was pretty solid for a few seasons. Obviously left on bad terms. But yeah, since then, yeah, just tripe, really and truly. I mean, David was bought on the cheap because he was available. Chelsea didn't want him, so it was an easy purchase. You know, it was an opportunistic buy. Mustafi, we got from Valencia. He was all right at Valencia at the time, but you know, since he's come to us, he's just gone from bad to worse. Holding looked good for a time, but then then he got injured, and he's not really got back to that level since. Chambers, he's gone out on loan, he's come back, he's injured, so nobody has really pulled up trees, that we've signed in that area.
Would you not put Per Mertesacker in there?
Did it? No, Mertesacker, he was all right, but wasn't he part of the panic buys in January? Again, just another.
Yes, you're right. Yes, Corey. Yes,
that he was a guy that was available. We thought, okay, we need a body in that area, so we just bought him. We haven't made a real considered purchase at centre back for a long time. Where we just identify somebody and then we go all out to get that person because that's exactly what we need. We haven't done that for a very, very long time.
We haven't done that since Sol Campbell, Corey, mate. I'm sorry, but Koscielny's made too many mistakes. The one that Fergus mentioned against Birmingham and the one at Atletico Madrid with Griezmann. You can't forgive him for them.
No, but these are mistakes in two games out of the 38 games.
There is others in there, mate. There is definitely others. And to go back with Leno as well, what Fergus was mentioned about Leno, we haven't had a keeper like Leno since Jens Lehmann, so that makes a massive. You see the difference there as well. We've had Szczesny. I never rated Szczesny. We've had Almunia. Well, we know how that turned out, and we've also had Fabianski as well, which he has sort of come good for West Ham. But I still don't rate him. He's still got that flap in him, So we haven't had a decent keeper since, since Leno, since Lehmann. So we've struggled in that back line for such a long time.
David's come on a minute about hopefully we'll have Saliba, but he's only played 4 games for his French side. So, Trev, question for you. A different question, but one that you probably would be very able to answer. Our illustrious, fantastic opinions, but I think our fantastic manager that was of 20 odd years at Arsenal came out and gave an interview, and he said at Highbury, when we left Highbury, did we leave our soul there? This is all yours because you spent more time at Highbury than any of the 3 of us put together.
Well, I've not listened to the whole of the interview, Fergus. I've only just read the headlines and read the summary of it. I think we left our soul at Highbury. If you look at our record of winning things when we were there and look at our record of winning things since we've gone to the Emirates, you don't need to be Einstein to work out that we've gone downhill and downhill badly.
Promised a dream, mate. We was promised a dream.
I don't want to bore you because we spoke about this not long ago, but we were made lots of promises when we left Highbury, and none of them have really come to fruition. But I don't remember Wenger making a lot of noise at the time. Wenger was a massive supporter of the new stadium, I think.
He designed it.
Yeah, and things like even the changing room, the reason I was told, the reason that the seats in the Arsenal home changing room are like they've got rounded ends. They're not square. There's no square at the end. The rounded ends is something to do with Wenger and his feng shui beliefs or something that, you don't have any square corners. I don't know what the truth in it is, but it was Charlie George that told me that was why it was designed like that. So he must know something. I've not taken to the Emirates. When you think, see, I watched so much success at Arsenal at Highbury, starting from from the wonderful George Graham and then moving into the early Wenger era. Of course, it seems like we left our soul there because it was our home. It was our spiritual home. It wasn't our first home, but it was the place where Arsenal were born and developed.
Matthew says we lost our voice at Highbury, but wasn't that the library?
No, I'm not having that because, like all of them, like any ground, like we saw last night, like we see at the Emirates. If the players play the football, then the ground's alive. Don't tell me that Highbury was quiet when Thierry Henry was slotting goals in, when Tony Adams screams down the middle of the pitch and takes a pass from Steve Bold and smashes a volley into the back of the net. The roof was off the place. It weren't a library. It was Highbury. And it was loud and it was proud when it needed to be.
And the Emirates can do that as well. We just look at the North London Derby this year. You look at there's been several games when they can live some European nights that lifts that Barcelona night that we talked about before. We've gone through all of that. I was just interested, since the man who'd been there more, if you actually agreed with Wenger and you type it in. But I think if you listen to the whole interview with Wenger, he goes into more talking about the way they had to redesign the distance from the pitch to try to keep it as tight as they could, but with health and safety. And because of this, lots of things they have to take into consideration in designing a modern stadium, rather than modifying a stadium like what Liverpool have done to a certain degree, but even modifying Highbury. We couldn't have changed Highbury very much more. The local residents weren't supportive of any redevelopment of the Highbury Stadium, because that was the original plan that they wanted to do. They wanted to extend some of the stands, the North Bank and the Clock End. They wanted to make them bigger. And obviously the East Stand is a listed building. They couldn't do very much with it. You're away on Monday to the FA Cup. We're playing at 8:00 on a Monday night. I got offered a ticket, but I've got work and I've got other commitments. I can't make 8:00 on a Monday night. They just have no consideration of fans. Fans all over the country. You're coming from bloody Greece, for Christ's sake. And okay, you're retired now, so you've got some more flexibility. But the FA need to take a look at themselves and just think of fans, don't they, Trev?
Well, just go back to Highbury for 10 seconds, Fergus. You see, I don't know if it was because I was a younger man, but I've stood on the terraces at Highbury in like the late 70s, early 80s, mid 80s, and there's only been like 18, 19, 20,000 in the stadium, and it held 60,000, Yeah. But whether it was because I was a younger man and I had a different outlook, I can't remember it ever being quiet on that. Mind you, maybe that was just me, as a kid going to the games. But going back to the TV, well, my thoughts on the TV. I've stated them soon enough in many times, Fergus. TV runs football now. The FA don't run football. They've sold their heart and soul to TV, right? And they can't make a U-turn now, because without letting TV pay them loads of money and run the game, you don't get Mesut Ozil on 350 grand a week. So the players don't care, because that's how they earn their money. TV runs football. The FA don't run football. The FA may apply the laws. The FA may run a poorly created VAR system, but TV companies run football. Full stop. They choose. They say when, what, where, and how, mate. The full Monty. TV runs football. But I'll still be there on Monday night. I've paid for my hotel.
Yeah, I heard. Very expensive, salubrious. Eddie Howe, Corey, does Eddie Howe need a cup run to save his job?
No, I don't think it's a cup run that will save his job. He needs to get some wins in the league. They won yesterday. So, they probably got a little bounce at the moment. But no, they I wouldn't be surprised if they put out a total B team against us. And decided to concentrate on the league because, you know, relegation is not what, you know, Bournemouth needs. So, no.
No, I'm inclined to agree with you because, you know, Premier League survival more important than a silver trophy?
Definitely. Just like Trev was talking about how TV runs football because of the money it generates. And you know you're going to get that money if you're in the Premiership. So, you know, if you want your club to grow and develop, you need that Premier League money. And so you're only going to get that if you stay in the Premier League. FA Cup will be nice. It's a nice day out at Wembley if you get to the final. It's nice to have a bit of silverware, but that's not really, you know, what clubs like Bournemouth are looking for at this stage. They're looking to stay in the Premier League and continue to get that Premier League money.
Look, Fergus, you're exactly right, Corey. But let me give you an example. I've just thought of an example of how TV runs football now, right? In years gone by, and I'm talking a good few years ago, if a game was postponed, say a game was postponed in January because of snow on the field, right? Arsenal would put an announcement out and say they had a game against, I don't know, Nottingham Forest postponed. So Arsenal and Nottingham Forest would get together and make a rearranged date that suited both clubs, and then both clubs will put out an announcement. Arsenal and Nottingham Forest have come to an agreement. We'll replay the game in March, right? That don't happen now. If a game's postponed, what happens? The TV companies say you and you will replay that game on that date. Total control. Don't get a look in.
I agree, Trevor. It's got bad, mate. It really has. And this whole thing as well, trying to book, book days out, to come down to the football. Even for myself, and there was a lad I know, he wanted to go to the Brighton game, and that's that's still now showing as Saturday 3:00. But there's a Europa League game in between there. So that's going to be changed. But what's it going to be changed to? Is it going to be changed to Sunday? Is it going to be changed to Monday? So it's like you can't book in advance, for instance, like a train ticket to get down there. So you can't, when you book in advance, obviously it's going to be a hell of a lot cheaper than it would be 2 weeks before the game. So it's getting ridiculous. It's the amount of money that you have to spend to try and do something. And they need to start telling fans, when these games are going to be played. It's ridiculous now. And it really is. And it is solely down to the TV. Like Trevor was saying, it's all down to when they want to put it on.
Ben makes a comment in there. Still can't believe that it's Monday night. It's 5 games this season now. Ben, myself and yourself, Trev, bumped into Ben. He's travelled all the way from Scotland to go to these games. It's an absolute joke, he says. Listen, we've run out of time. It's been really, really good. We will chat in the week after the Bournemouth game. Hopefully we're on to the 5th round of the FA Cup. And then we will preview the Burnley game. Corey, I'm disappointed you haven't dressed up. Like I even put a shirt on and everything like that,
I know. It's like, listen, we need to synchronize a bit better, right? Because you had the hoodie on last time. So I'll put the hoodie on this time. And
it's all right. I literally got in from work, same sort of thing. So just like shirt still on from work. Scotty, I hope you get some rest after getting at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah, need my beauty sleep, mate.
Oh, Jesus, do you?
Yeah.
And
sorry, I had an itch.
Yeah, all right. Trev, as always, you have been listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans. For these guys here, we're all Arsenal fans. Thank you, everybody in the chat. There's loads of people in there. Some new names I've seen, including I think it's your grandson or granddaughter, Sammy's been putting some comments in there. There's Andy Smith.
Hey, hang on. Whoa, it's not me granddaughter. It's my daughter. I'm not that old.
I don't know, do I? I don't know.
Look at me. How can I have a son? Yeah, get out of here.
You have been listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans. If you like what we do, please click on the bell on YouTube or follow us on Facebook. On YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, we are on Guns and Yellow Ribbons. And on Twitter, we're on Guns Guns and Ribbons on Twitter. And obviously you got our Twitter handles underneath down there as well. Thanks very much, everybody. Only one last thing to say. Up the arse.